Hello and welcome back to another Nerf Blaster review video for the channel. My name is Luke Triton and today I am finally covering the Zombie Strike Hammershot. So this is a very old blaster that is still very popular in the Nerf hobby today. It is hammer primed and has a 5-dart cylinder. Again, it's from the Zombie Strike line, which is quite weird because not many Zombie Strike blasters are popular to begin with. None so this popular. And yet, when it came out, so many people loved it. And to this day, I have people saying to me, Luke, you need to get yourself one of these. Joel King in particular says to me every now and then, come on, Luke, just get yourself a Hammershot. I saw it in store for £7 brand new, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm here, it's here, let's buy one, let's do it. So yeah, I now have a Hammershot. The interesting thing is, I don't appreciate this as much as I probably should, because there were so many blasters that came out after the Hammershot, because of the Hammershot. I think this one in particular is still so popular because of how easy it is to modify. But again, that's not something I'm going to personally go into because I'm more of a stock class nerfer myself. But let's talk about the blaster. So this is very cool aesthetically because again, Zombie Strike, it has some weird kind of orange texturing going on. The grip is probably the most notable thing, where it has this sort of fake bandage wrap thing going on for extra grip comfort, I suppose. Well, there's only so much you can do that with because this is, you know, molded plastic after all. But aesthetically, it is really cool looking. It's a very chunky blaster as well, especially for a primary. Look how thick that is. That's ridiculous. But at the same time, I still think that's quite cool. Now, this also has a bit of weight to it. Given its overall size, it's actually a bit heavy. Now, it's not noticeably heavy, but when you hold a few other blasters, cylinder blasters, I should say in particular, it's got, it's a bit noticeable, I think is the best way for me to say it. Again, it's not obvious, but you kind of, you know, holding this is a bit heavier. It's that sort of feeling. I do love the fact that it has a tactical rail on the top. Most people won't use that tactical rail, but the fact that it's there is really cool because I love attachments, and one day if I want to be stupid and put a scope on there, I totally could. Even then, I probably could do that anyways because there were a lot of scoped magnums that existed out there in the world, so I probably could have my fun and put a scope on there and just, you know, Fallout 3 style. There was always a scoped magnum in Fallout 3, so yeah, that's a thing to kind of play around with. Now, one thing I don't like about this blaster is how free moving the cylinder is. There is no set position for the cylinder to stay in unless you activate the hammer. So pulling the hammer now, there we go, that's now in the correct position, ready to fire, and firing now. Lovely stuff. But it's still really free moving. It's kind of stiff as well. I can't spin this to, you know, continue to spin for a few rotations. It's just like that. It's really weird and I don't like it. I'm having to manually set it into that position where the top chamber now has that exposed dart hole. It's, you know, I could move it ever so slightly to each side, and I don't like that because what if I prime it and it goes a little bit wrong? I haven't yet experienced any misfires or any feeding issues with this blaster, but that doesn't take away my discomfort in knowing, okay, this is going to be a problem. Since I've now primed, let's fire again because that's a very fun thing to do with your Nerf blasters. There really isn't that much left to talk about when it comes to this blaster, but also there is a fair amount to talk about with what came after this. So this isn't my first cylinder-fed hammer prime blaster. There were a few others out there. I can remember a few in the Doomland series. There's the Fortnite 6 shooter, which I've got, and I think there's one in the Rebel line. Again, there's a number of others out there that exist, and I think they all came out after the Hammershot. Knowing that this was crazy successful, obviously Nerf thought, oh, okay, let's make some more, you know, let's make all these other ones for other lines, and that's ultimately a good thing because this was a good template to go from, and some blasters are probably going to be more popular than others, but we have this to thank for it. Now, this is going to be a very short video, but I am working on something after this video to compare this to a few other cylinder-fed blasters that I have, because I'm currently working on my setup still, and I would like to have a revolver as my sidearm. My current sidearm is a very cheap 2-shot pistol. It's the one that comes in the Mediator stock, and that's a, you know, that's a bit, you know, rubbish. I can't really rely on that. But if I'm going to get a proper sidearm, which one do I go with? Straight away, I feel like I've said everything I kind of need and want to say about the Hammershot. Everybody knows what this blaster is. Everybody knows how good this blaster is. But I don't know if this one is for me. So I'm going to do a quick comparison because, you know, I'm here, so why not? I will go into more in, let me start that sentence again. I will go into more detail in regards to this with the Versus video. But I spent more time with the Fortnite 6 shooter than I have the Hammershot. They're both very similar in the sense that they're both revolvers, they're both hammer primed, and again, there are a lot of similarities. I spent more time with this blaster than I have this blaster. So again, whilst I might not have much appreciation for the Hammershot, it's still something that I would very much like to have and play with. But which one do I prefer? Again, that's something I'm going to cover in its own video. However, whilst I have my own preferences when it comes to which one do I prefer over the selection of blasters, what about the Hammershot itself? So I found this in TK Maxx for £7, again brand new, sealed in the box, and there was a couple of them there, which was quite funny because every now and then they tend to have either nothing or something really cool, i.e. in this case the Hammershot. A lot of people have spent a lot of time saying, Luke, you need to get a Hammershot, and whilst it's similar to something else that I've got, at least I can now say I've got a Hammershot, and I would recommend that as well. These are so easy to come by. I have watched a lot of thrifting videos on YouTube, and near enough in every thrift store there is a Hammershot. So people have definitely had them and they've gotten rid of them, but it's such an easy thing to get a hold of, especially on eBay here in the UK. This is a retired product, but even then, there are so many of them out there. You can get them for a really cheap price as well, and I would fully recommend you get one. So it's a very interesting review for this blaster, but that's probably the best thing I can really do when it comes to reviewing this blaster in the first place. There's a lot to talk about, but I can't do so in this video. So I will leave this here. Thank you all ever so much for watching. Be sure to keep an eye out on my community tab for polls and updates. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and Flickr for more behind the scenes action. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye bye.